Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 162 of Games My Mom Found, and who's playing an incomplete game with me tonight?
Oh, hi. My name is Dominic. You can find me on the Distant Waves podcast on YouTube, also on the Overboard Facebook group. I'm back again. I haven't left.
Welcome back. And our other guest.
My name is Blair Farrell. You can find my work at comicbookvideogames.com. And currently I'm cuddling my Fangamer Serb because I have a feeling that, like Legends 2, I'm really happy when this starts and I'll be really sad when it's over.
Well, hey, just look forward to 3. It's only been 20 years.
Oh, God.
22?
So we're
Why would
here to
you
talk
say
about
that?
Mega Man Legends 2 that came out in North America in 2000. Developed by Capcom, published by Capcom, came out on PlayStation 1. God, it's been 22 years.
In the year 2000.
Mega Man Legends 3 was 11 years ago. The whole
It got
debacle.
canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the reason why I traded in my perfectly excellent DSi XL for a 3DS launch model because I was so excited that I was finally going to get to see Trigger get off the moon. And then they canceled it, and the first year the 3DS was terrible, and I've been too lazy to upgrade to a regular 3DS, so now I have the hand-cramping old one, and it's all Capcom's fault.
Yeah, Capcom made a lot of decisions in that era that I was not a fan of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Still winning
when
Ace Attorney investigations, too, but hey.
2010, 2011 is when they just said, fuck you, Mega Man, pretty much for a while.
They pissed off everybody that was fans of them.
They're still working on that, too. Doing pretty good at it, too.
They've improved.
Yeah, the collections have been stellar. Like, I'm not a big fan of the Zero series, but the fact that they compiled the Zero and ZX series, and Legacy Collection 1 has sold like 1 million copies, and Mega Man 11 was surprisingly great, even though Greg Stewart of Player One Podcast doesn't really think that much after I recommended it for his stream.
Oh, he didn't enjoy it?
No.
Never played it yet. I want to.
I'd like to play it eventually. But Mega Man Legends 2 was a bit of a different game. This is super ambitious.
It really is.
Surprisingly ambitious.
Because, for those that don't know, sequel Mega Man Legends 1, obviously, which is a 3D action platformer.
Yes.
I think is the way to put it. Shooter.
Yeah. Like a 3D action
RPG.
adventure.
Yeah.
It's like a prototype of like a modern game.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And this one is much more open than the first one, where the first one you're kind of funneled into an area. This one you're able to move around. You have a world map that you unlock, and there's much more freedom in this one.
Dare I say it's PlayStation's answer to Zelda?
Almost.
Also, this does take place in the Mega Man timeline, but like thousands and thousands of years later, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't really know, because I was actually, this weekend I was playing Mega Man X5, because I know that came out a couple of months after this, and one of the endings of Mega Man X5, which is apparently the bad ending, but I always thought was the best one, is that Zero dies, and someone says, X, what are you going to do next? And he says, I want to build a world where humans and Reploids coexist, and I want to call it Elysium. Which would make sense, because when you think of Trigger's role, who is to hunt down someone who would threaten Utopia, and that's what X's job was to hunt down irregulars. But then the whole Zero series threw a monkey in the wrench to that, where it was like after X, there was the Cyber L4s, and then there was Zero, and I think there's something
ZX.
at the end of ZX Advent where they talk about how there's a great flood coming or something. I think you had to finish it on super hard or something.
Somehow they do connect loosely.
Yeah, as far as I know, the Legends timeline is like the very last of the things.
Yeah.
I don't remember where Battle Network fits in anymore, but
I think it's
Legends
just
is
kind of
tough.
like a spin-off.
But I was surprised how much because I like Mega Man Legends from what I remember. It's been a little while since we covered it. And then when I went to play this, I was having fun. Like I always get nervous sometimes to start games I never started before. Like when it comes to that initial, like your first hour through it, I'm just nervous. Sometimes I don't know why, because I play a new game every week, but I was nervous. And I have no reason, but I was just nervous with this game. This game starts off, I thought, was also humorous because the first mission you have to do is save Data, who's on fire, because he was trying to cook breakfast and lit your ship on fire.
yes. And lit your shit on fire, too.
I came in that room and he's running around on fire. I was like, what the fuck?
Funny enough, Mega Man Battle Network 2 also starts with a big fire.
Is it your own character, your own friend lighting himself on fire, though?
It's like your house or your friend's house or something.
Yeah, I
Not
think
exactly
it's
the same.
first one, because someone hacks your kitchen appliances.
No, it was 2. I've only played 2.
Oh, it's 2. Yeah, they all kind of blend together.
Yeah. But that was like a year after this, so I wonder if that's like a weird callback. Or
Maybe
maybe
could
2
be.
years.
I mean, it could have definitely been a callback to this game.
And even before you get into that thing, like the kind of like the opening cinematic is, dare I say, pretty epic. And
Oh yeah,
it's
I skipped it.
like
of course you did.
such excellent context about what happens and like main characters like
Mike, it plays before the start screen of every time you boot it up.
I only booted up once because I hit F3 to load every time.
It's
And
like a
it,
long
like,
cutscene.
I saw it later.
So good.
I went
for,
back
like,
and watched it.
PlayStation 1 game.
It is super good.
Like when you think of like Metal Gear Solid, like, and I love Metal Gear Solid, and that's kind of like one of the big examples of games using in-engine cinematics as opposed to kind of like the Square Enix high quality FMV sequences that have different art styles. But this seems to be like all in-engine, and like you're just totally in the universe the entire time.
Yes.
And characters still have like the fist hands, but like they have full facial expressions, and everything looks so sharp.
Yeah, what did we all play on, by the way?
I played on PS3. I have the digital version. I have my physical copy, but I don't like taking it out because I don't want to wear out the disc.
Makes sense. I actually bought this on PS3 a long ass time ago, but I played emulation.
I also played it on PS3, the digital version. Okay, so we're at least almost simpatico on that.
Yeah, I own it. It doesn't have save states on the PS3 version.
No, I'm just curious if anyone actually went out and played the original copy.
I kick myself for not buying this when I had a chance for like $10 many years ago.
Oh, yeah. I got this. My brother got our first non-Nintendo system, which was a PlayStation in 1999. But he was in university and he was going back and forth to school. So he had the PlayStation, and he would leave, and I would get sad because my brother and the PlayStation were gone. And then in 2000, when the PS2 came out, the PS1 ONE came out, like the sandwich container sized PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that for Christmas, and my mom bought me Legends 2 from the Sony store, which was only $39 in Canada, brand new.
Wow. But let's talk about this. The opening cutscene is there's a lot happening. There's the press conference on this big ship where it's like Farrell's there with his friend all of a sudden. The Bonds are there as like a undercover reporting team. They talk about opening like a department store at one point, which is great. There's a whole sequence where Mega Man's out of his suit, just in regular clothes, and that threw me for a huge loop. Like, what?
That's kind of weird.
Like, I thought he was just part of the suit.
Me too.
Traditionally, he's like Robot Boy, so he can just wear.
Very nebulous because, like, in the first one, it's kind of like they find him as a baby, and I guess you find out in this one like why that is the case,
right? But
it's never really implicitly told, like if he's like a human or an android or part android, because they're all part of this like system. So I don't know. I'm sure smarter people have figured it out, but like it's something that. But unlike the other Mega Man games, like where it's clearly like a robot, or discounting the ZX games, like it's just like his kind of work clothes almost.
Yeah, then it's just hanging out in jeans and an apron.
I always thought it was his body. Like that's just what he was. He's a robot. That's just weird to see him in something different. I mean, the cartoon did it too, if I remember correctly.
Anti-Warrior?
Didn't that terrible cartoon do it too in Mega Man, where he had regular clothes sometimes?
Well, they do it in like Mega Man Powered Up and Mega Man 11. He's just in like normal boy clothes, and Mega Man Powered Up, he asked to get turned into Mega Man. At the start of Mega Man 11, he's just helping around the lab, and he's just in regular clothes. So it's something I kind of do.
Okay,
it's weird. Character development.
I also felt like this game had a very complex and like elaborate story to it too. Like the fact that like, you're trying to find like the girl that ends up showing up that attacks the ship, Yuna, was a reporter who jumps on the ship and leaves, doesn't attack the ship. She is related to Gramps or somebody's daughter that went missing or something.
Gramps' daughter.
Which is also Roll's mother, who's been missing all these years. And it's just, it's like very, and then you go to a town and you meet a guy who she thinks is Roll's father, but he's too injured to talk and he has amnesia. It's like, just so many complex little things in this game that was kind of surprising to me.
Yes, it's an anime storyline completely.
And the first area, like, as you go, like, the whole like context is like there's this place called Forbidden Island that's supposed to be the home of this kind of the Legends universe revolves around all of these people who are kind of underground diggers or miners who are looking for this legendary treasure called the Mother Lode, and it's supposed to be on this place called Forbidden Island. So they have to get in there, but in order to do that, they have to first get parts. And you go to this town on this kind of like snowy place, and like there's so much hostility. It's kind of great. And like you go into the store and one of the people is like, "We don't like you. Get the hell out of here because diggers like ruined our town." Like everyone, and then you go kind of to the graveyard and it's like, here's the graves of everyone who was lost trying to get into this place.
Right. Yeah, like the Forbidden Island where the storms are surrounding it. I feel like that's like such a common, not a common trope, but a trope that I've seen before and I'm
RPG
always
trope.
curious about. Yeah. It's such a weirdly complex, interesting idea that gets brought up again and again.
And like how to save these people? They froze them in ice to save them,
Or ice or
kinda
crystals or something like that.
Yeah, they're trapped.
Right.
I thought that was weird too. And also this game has a lot of pirates in it. Like you have the Tronbon gang, and then you have like other pirate mercenary Glide and his little team. Like it had a lot of stuff going on.
Like
your whole mission, you find out pretty quickly, is to try to go and get these 4 keys and then unlock. Because when you go to the Forbidden Land the first time, because the Forbidden Island, because you're looking for Gramps. I think did Gramps go missing on there? Somebody went missing.
Well, Yuna and Geet, or is it Gats? They attack the ship because they're protecting Forbidden Island because they know what people think is a treasure is actually a cataclysmic catastrophe. Oh, I'm like I'm really great with words today. So they don't want anyone there, so they attack the ship thinking they'll just turn away, but then it gets sucked into the storm. So then Mega Man and Roll have to go find these plans for a dropship that Roll's dad develops so they can get there and save Gramps and everyone on the Sulphur Bottom, which is where they are.
No, that Gramps and his friend had been to the island before and escaped. That was like their big claim to fame.
Yeah.
And then they went back.
Yes.
Okay. And then by him going there, he like resurrects somebody who's been locked away or something who ends up wanting to destroy the world.
Mega Man did, I believe.
Okay, yeah, Mega Man does.
Sarah, yeah.
Also worth noting, the overarching thing is that Roll is still searching for the Mother Lode, but really, she's searching for her mother.
And this world isn't as flooded as, well, I guess it is flooded, but it's not like the previous world you're in that's just one island that you thought that's all that exists, and this is
the world's covered by endless water.
This you have a map to kind of go around. I shouldn't say giant because you only go to a few different islands, and they're not. I feel like the first game might have had more to it, where this game looked more. Does that make sense?
The first game is it's kind of small in its scope, like because you're just on this one island. But like, what's the great thing about Mega Man Legends 1? Because over the years, I've come to appreciate that I actually like Legends 1 more than this game, even though both are really great. Because I just love like the kind of relationship you develop with the town people, and then once you get the drill and you're just finding out that everything under the town is this massive interconnected labyrinth.
100%.
With this game, it's just like the scope is like it's just a lot of different environments. Like they're kind of stereotypical environments where it's like the fire world and the ice world and the water world. But like it's way grander and with a lot more ambition than the first one, even though it kind of loses some of the heart and charm.
And slightly retcons a couple details.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree to the first one I enjoyed it more.
Yeah, it's kind of a timeless game where you understand the scope of it. It's not too ambitious, but it's pretty ambitious still for the time it came out in. Like
this one had status elements. I really did not like status elements where you can get burned, you can get frozen, you can get electrocuted, and they just do like damage to you.
Poison
you move
too,
slower.
Yeah.
You can't shoot with one of them. I did not like that. Yes, you have an item that can heal you, which I never bought. Save states. But I didn't like that it was there. That irritated me a lot.
Well, you can buy like the parts too, but something I thought was weird because before I went to, there's like you kind of have to get these 4 keys, and each of them run an island, and all the islands they have like a dungeon that's kind of like Zelda, although it's less puzzle heavy and less reliant on like the new weapons.
More combat.
But one of the things I bought was like asbestos shoes, and it's like, oh yeah, you can walk on fire, and then I would walk on fire and light on fire. So I was like, why the heck did I buy these?
Also, that I can't believe they called it asbestos shoes. That actually blew my mind a little bit. Because asbestos just gives you cancer. Like what?
Yes. I also, for some reason, me being me, I actually didn't use a different weapon other than the Buster until the final dungeon.
Really? So you has had the fire extinguisher the entire time?
No, I had just a lifter. I could grab people, and that was it.
Oh wow.
I didn't I was missing upgrades. So I didn't really get guns early on. Like I just didn't get anything, and then I just didn't bother.
I'm kind of the same way with this one and the first. Like, I think what keeps you from experimenting that unlike say the other Mega Man games is that you can only carry one weapon at a time. So in this one you can switch between the lifter and a weapon. So like I always carry the drill because the drill is good for exploring dungeons as you break down walls and get to treasures and get more money. And the economy is very important in this. Is not only can you buy items, I always have to buy presents for roll because I want to.
Does it do anything?
If you buy the sulfur bottom model, the development cost for your weapons go down.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because I did all that. I actually grinded the money because I was really curious about all that.
And you get the creepy scene where he walks in under the bathtub, which is apparently a weird trend in these two games.
No, it's not. You have to do that, though. That's literally story critical.
I didn't do that.
Really?
Yeah, I never walked into her in the bathroom.
After you get the model, I think. It's after you get the model. Because there was something in Legends 1 as well, where you walk in her while she's changing, might be after you give her another present. And she writes in the journal, like, I don't know if you go back and check her journals, but it's like, oh, I'm so proud of Mega Man, and this happened. She's like, oh, this thing happened, like, before. Like, I hope it's not a thing that's going to keep happening.
I just remember there was one point in the game where it's like, there's nothing else I can do. Roll's just not showing up. I need to go places.
That's because you gave her the sulfur thing.
Right, and Data's just like, yeah, she's in the bath. And I'm like, okay, I guess I got to figure out where the fuck that is, and I got to do this. I don't want to, but here we go.
Yeah, I didn't see the scene because I never bought her. I bought her one gift because I was like, my money's better spent on other things.
Did you at least get the fridge?
No.
Oh, the fridge is like imperative because you get an item that's a picnic lunch that automatically fills your power and it keeps replenishing.
Oh, I didn't get that.
The guide was talking about that. I didn't understand what it was.
Lunches, like I always get everything, even though it, like you said, like it's better spent towards buying Buster parts or like things for the energy canteen, which is very important, especially towards the end. But like, yeah, investing in the fridge is like one of the best things you have to buy right away.
That's cool. I wish I would have known. I would have done that if had I known. But I don't know. I kind of rushed this game a little. Partly, well, I was also trying to play mostly without a guide and just like look at the guide to tell me where to go next, but just kind of experience the game by itself and not cheat as much.
Which is good. I mean, like all these things I've discovered, like I've been playing this game since Christmas of 2000, so these are like little tricks that I picked up over the years. So like,
that's fair.
Yeah.
My only experience, you're gonna
pick it up on your first time without any guidance.
My only memory of this game, my only experience with it was back in the day. My friend had it, and I remember him bringing it over, and we were trying to do the quiz to get him the sword.
Oh,
and I remember one of the questions is, what is the name of Huey Lewis's album? And it's Sport is the title, I think. The answer to the question. That's all I remember about this game. All these years, that was the one memory I've carried with me about this game.
Game Informer did a super replay back in the day, but that's like one of those that just kind of fell into a time void for me where I remembered nothing about it.
They're hard to watch for me now because they don't always know what to do, and it pains me.
I like seeing them stumble, but that's a different story. Legends 1 was very memorable for Super Replay. This one, not as much.
No, this game wasn't... It felt like you go from one thing to the next, and there were less lull moments like Legends 1 had, where you had more moments where you're just kind of like chilling at times doing things.
Yeah.
This was much more that you were constantly going from one event to another. The dungeons, I never felt like I was getting enough money in a dungeon. And I never felt like I was getting what I needed. And yes, you can farm really early on because the first dungeon has the best farming spot as long as you get the right loadout.
Interesting.
I've never felt the need to farm. Like although we'll get into, I haven't really confirmed about the whole test difficulty thing. But there's like a bunch of sub-dungeons you can find. Because at the start, you can go into, on the first island, you go to a church, and it's part of the Diggers Guild. You can do these tests. And after the first one, you get an A ranking, and then you do the second, you get an S ranking. And there's kind of like the main dungeons that have the keys in them, which are plot-centric, but there's other areas that are just, oh, you just go down here, kill some enemies, and at the end you get a refractor that you can sell for a lot of money.
Right.
But like these dungeons are tied to your licenses. So like I always felt that like I just always spend money on like buster parts and stuff from my energy canteen because like the last boss is super brutal.
Yeah. I got the A license in that water world, like on the island, like kind of like a water world kind of situation where it's just like this big building on the water thing. I don't know how to describe it, where the water temple is just underneath it.
Yeah, it's like a giant cylinder coming out.
Yeah. So I got the A license there, and that's just where I kept grinding for money.
That's a good way to do it. I went to the first dungeon, and I was reading a guide where it said, you go in the room, and if you can lock on to the first enemy, leave the dungeon. Go back in. If you can't lock on, you have to continue down a certain path, take a left into a door, and there's a gold enemy that spawned you can just kill quickly, and he drops $7,000 if you're A license every time. And you can just go out the door, go back in. I did that for like an hour.
Wow.
Near the end.
I mean, yeah, I do agree with the idea that there's like a lot happening that it doesn't always stop to focus on or really explore properly in a way.
Also,
because there's just so much story and so much just world building they have to do.
You don't get enough Zenny from pirates either. You don't get Zenny from pirates, and you fight so many pirates in this game. I mean, some drop Zenny, yes, but not all.
Yeah, like even like story elements though, like they're like in the beginning, they talk about how the guy you find on the island who has the blueprints, Joe, like he has a daughter, right?
Yes. And
like the whole storyline is that that's actually Roll's dad, and so Roll has like a sister. And
but they never addressed that.
Right.
But
maybe that's a Legends 3.
Is that his daughter or is it just
adopted daughter?
Yeah.
Or not adopted, but it's his daughter going to be his daughter in marriage.
Yeah, because she's like, when he gets better, like, if the little girl encounters you in his garage where the dropship is that he had built.
Right.
He says, like, my mom is going to marry this guy, and then I'm going to have a new dad, so don't mess it up.
Right, so maybe that's like a Legends 3 thing that was supposed to pick up, but, like, that seemed pretty important. They set all of that up. I would like to have seen more payoff with that. But now we gotta go with this whole precursor race thing again. Very Assassin's Creed, in a way.
How is it Assassin's Creed? You have my question.
Because it's the same thing. Like, there's the precursor race that was kind of like closer to God and everything, and then they made the humans.
No, I get it. I haven't played Assassin's Creed in so long I completely forgot what you were talking about.
Yes.
It didn't click.
Mega Man's Desmond Miles. Roll is Kristen Bell.
No, it just. I mean, like in this game, you have a whole mission where you're at one of the cities, Nino, and you have to protect it from an invasion from duck pirates.
Yes.
Duck pirate. That reminded me of the Power Rangers because they sit inside a ship and there's different colors of them.
Like the Servbots, but different.
Yeah.
I like that they came back because, like in 2000, like, this came out alongside a game called The Misadventures of Tron, which is a prequel to Mega Man Legends, where the characters of Glide and the Bird Bots are introduced.
Oh, cool. They're in that game?
Yeah, that's where they're introduced. Like, Glide is in, like, the plot of that game is essentially Tron's older brother Teasel takes out a loan from a loan shark, and he comes to collect, and you have to pay off the loan, and Glide is his enforcer.
Is Von Blucher in that game?
No.
Okay, so it's not entirely like introducing all this extra stuff. It's some of it's there, some of it's not.
Yeah, it's not like a required playing, but like I guess it's for those who played it like myself. It's like, oh cool, Glide is back. And
it's like watching Clone Wars to see where General Grievous comes from.
Yeah, when you get into the fire dungeon on Silicata Islands, Tron is in a mecha called a Gustav, and that's what you drive in the Misadventures of Tron, and even like her attacks are the same. Like she shoots the beak, like in Tron, you have this weapon called the Beacon Bomb where you can guide Serbots to go in houses and rob people and pick things up and attack people and shake cars, and that's how she attacks you. Like she fires a beacon bomb and all of her weapons are the same.
Yeah, Tron gets a lot of like star time this time.
I love that character.
Yeah, Tron great. I'm kind of conflicted about her being kind of put into the role of like, oh, she just likes Mega Man a lot.
Okay, you reminded me of that boss fight that really, really like pissed me off. I wasn't using save states. Very early in the game, in the first town you go to, you have to fight Tronbon, and that was a really tough fight for me.
You level an entire town in the process.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching a speeder of it where he just gets the grenade launcher and just kills her in seconds with a grenade launcher, which I did not do. I used the buster, and it was way too long. I did not like it at all, and it really would have broke me had I not been cheating with save states.
I kind of had a little practice going into that because Misadventures of Tronbon came with a demo, and the first area is that boss.
Oh,
so I played it a lot leading up to this.
I didn't really remember having issues with that game or that boss fight. It was just fine.
I think it's like like a lot of enemies, and again, it's something that I don't know. I was gonna go back and play this again because like I did in the first area, I did the A ranking and the S ranking, and when I was playing, because I've been playing this game for forever, I was like, it could just be that I'm not as good as this what I remember, but like it took like felt like my shots were taking longer to kill that crab boss. And then the glide fight is in the second island before you get to the dungeon. Like Glide and his bird bots attack this place, and you have to defend it on different things. And like on different platforms rather. And one of the final things is his ship is just sending out wave after wave of bird bots, and like it was just pissing me out.
Yes, that thing. Okay, I remember that.
Like they were relentless, and I don't know if it's because. From what I read, and I don't know if this is confirmed, that if you get the S ranking, you bump the difficulty up to hard.
That's what people were saying, like when we were talking about this before we got into it. So entirely possible. The other thing, the thing that actually stuck out to me more during this section was the whole cutscene where Tronbon disguises her voice as Roll, and there's that whole like psychological manipulation sequence that plays out, which is just wild.
It's weird how she's like, Ro doesn't care about you. You should join me. Yeah, it was strange.
Like there's like in like cartoons, they have the scene where they try to convince the hero, oh yeah, they don't care about you. But this goes really in depth of like having Roll say all these nasty things about Mega Man, and then Roll is like being jammed so she can't pipe up, and Mega Man's actually questioning like reality at this point. I thought that was really interesting and like again really ambitious for this game.
What I've come to appreciate about the whole, like, as Tron as a character, because, like, I guess I played this for the first time as a teenager, and it's like, look at these kind of goofy pirates, but, like, as an adult, like, I kind of really sympathize with the Bond family, because I know what it's like to have, like, crushing debt and bills, and Tron, like, at the end, she's kind of talking to Roll, and it's like, well, if you have all this money, you can do whatever you want, but, like, most of us just have to get by, and like at the end, like on the final stretch of the game in the last dungeon, they made an alliance with Glide and like the other Bola and Claymore, who are kind of just like throwaway characters who are barely in it.
Who are weird and interesting though.
I think they have different names in the manual as well.
Oh, okay.
But that was a thing, like Mega Man X5 was the same thing. And like Tron is just like, this is what happens when like you don't have any money. You just have to like pair up with these people, and like we're never gonna win, and just how beaten down she is, and you just like kind of feel for her and her life, and she's like the adult in the family who has to like because her brother, like they mentioned they have a department store, but he's only buying things that he likes, so they're like going bankrupt essentially.
Right.
It's kind of deep, for a Mega Man game.
And then Bon's just there in the background still.
He's only really in a couple scenes. I mean, one little boss fight, we have to chase after him, but he's not around very much in this game.
Right. And then, like, you put him in the lava. They kind of imply that he's, like, burned. He's dead.
Oh, yeah. There's no way to beat him.
In the next area, he's like the engine of a train.
Right. They get him out. He's okay. No one dies in this series.
You think they would, though.
But the Bola and Claymore stuff was so strange. Like, they're just characters that are there. They support each other. And, like, there's the one guy who's, like, too old for this shit. And the other guy is just, like, really calm and cool. And, like, well, you were studying the arts. I was studying the blade kind of personality.
Yeah, one guy is essentially, like, Bola is, like, I have enough money to retire. Like, this whole game is for the young, and I don't want to do this. And he's essentially only doing it for his friend.
Right.
And his friend is like, no, I really want to get this treasure. It's like the most important thing in my life. And then at the end, like Pola just says, like, you can do whatever you want. I'm getting out of here. And then Claymore is like, yeah, this is like not worth the effort anymore. Like, just they can go do it, like whatever.
Claymore, that was the big guy, right? The big knight looking thing.
Yeah, you fight in the water temple.
I liked him. Apparently when I was reading the guy, the trick to beating him is you have the drill arm, you just run next to him and just drill him to death really fast.
Yeah, that probably would have helped.
He was cool though. Like
in this game, I just circle straight around him.
That boss fight is that boss fight was the hard one for me. Holy
I
crap.
can see that. He did kick my ass a little bit. I mean, I was safe states, but I can see it.
But you have to go down all the way down to the bottom of the water temple, fight him. But you have to go all the way back up and fight him again, but you can't save for whatever reason.
Yeah, the save save point is down at the bottom. So you essentially, and if you die, to put in context of this water temple, it's my most hated part of this game.
It's not good.
People complain about the water temple in Ocarina of Time. So in this, you can buy an item before you go in that are essentially jet skates. Because if not, you're in submerged water and you can't swim. You're just trudging slowly. And if an enemy hits you, you fall back really slow. And it takes forever to get up. But you have these jet skates to get around. And then you have to go all the way down and drain the water and then just kind of climb back up. And it's really long and tedious.
It wasn't a good dungeon. It was very annoying running through. Like, I know people always, shit on like you were saying, Ocarina of Time, this was way worse because it just was slow and cumbersome. And then once you drain the water, like you were saying, you have to climb through things. And it was just, I didn't like it at all. It was not a good dungeon.
I like when you were able to kind of jump through the air a bit more and kind of access those places that were hard to access otherwise. But
cool.
I know there's a part in this dungeon I've never been able to reach because Roll says there's a door up here and it's really high. How do you get there? Does anyone know?
Ooh, I don't. I was curious about that myself.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. The guy that I had mentioned something about doing it, but I didn't care, so I avoided it. But there is a way you can do it when you're here this one time.
Oh, okay. Because I know if you get a jump start with your skates, you'll kind of fly up as you jump off the ramp or just the ledge. So I wasn't sure if that's how.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was, but there is a way to do it because the guide had said you can do it while you're here, but you don't get anything too special. I don't think it was like some accessories I didn't care about or something.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't I don't think it was a part to upgrade to build a weapon or anything too special. Maybe more. Also, this game gives you a lot of Zenny in other places, like holes in the walls have Zenny, chests have Zenny. There's lots and lots of Zenny just in random places. Yeah,
it feels like in the first game there's a lot more variety of items you'd find and the holes in the wall and everything. But this is just kind of Zenny.
And also, what did you guys think of the jellyfish boss that you fought in the end of this water temple?
Annoying.
Fine. That's the one that kind of you had to jump up to the second level and avoid the stuff, or is that the?
No, the jellyfish. Just 3 jellyfish that shoot things at you.
Yeah, that was fine.
Again, I think I was playing on hard, so they were obnoxious bullet sponges.
They were. I did not enjoy fighting them at all. I also didn't really enjoy the Toad boss from the first dungeon either. I wasn't a fan of him either.
That was okay. I mean, that was at least there was a similar thing I think in Legends 1, wasn't there?
I can't remember.
He
did remind me of a Zelda boss. For some reason, that Toad made me think of Zelda a lot.
Well, it says the bugs are flying ahead, and it can shoot its tongue up and grab them. So you kind of have to be mindful of the bugs because it kill them, and then you get power. But if he gets them, he gets power back.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is fun. I like that.
I never knew that. I mean, I would shoot the bugs and get health for myself, but I didn't realize you could eat them too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. That's interesting.
Can we go back a minute and talk about the quiz again? Because again, I think that was amazing. I love that.
I wanted to try it this playthrough, but I didn't care at that point because I wasn't going to grind for the amount of money to upgrade the lightsaber like I wanted to. So I was like, I don't care.
I just it's just in games. I feel like there's just stuff that's an unwritten rule that you don't talk about. You know what I mean? But then we have just questions about like a virgin and the Sex Pistols. And it was okay, they just threw everything in this section. Nothing was off limits.
Yeah, so on the first island where the key is, there's a mayor and 2 understudies, and they have these quizzes, and you have to answer 10 questions, and then the ultimate one is 100. But it's what is this Madonna album also, what's this thing about ancient Mesopotamia? And you're like, what? How?
Yeah, they're real life questions.
Yeah, it's not stuff you would know from like the game, like what color was like the Bond mech. It's stuff from like actual life.
No, this is asking, what did Don Henley in the Eagles play?
Drums.
Right, but you just have to know that.
I do. No, I wish I would have done it. I mean, I remember back in the day, me and my buddy, we went and did it, and he would go and get the questions, and I would Google it in the other room, because this is, 2000, so the computer was in a different room. We jump back and forth to figure out what the quiz was.
You were lucky you had a computer in the other room with the internet.
Yes.
I wanted
Your
to just
Highness.
do it. I just wanted to do it cold, because I didn't want to, like, cheat. I had fun doing it that way. I didn't realize like a whole 100-question quiz was there. I just did the 3.
The 10 one?
Yeah.
That's not bad. 100, that's a lot of fucking questions to answer in a row correctly.
I tried to do it with Game Facts once, and then I got to like 90-something, and then I hit the wrong button. And I was like, I'm not doing this again. It is not worth it.
No, because I don't think the sword is that good unless you upgrade it.
Yeah,
it's still not the best weapon, I don't think.
I never use sub weapons. As like in like Legends 1, you can equip like you get parts, and Roll will combine them with notes to make weapons. Like you have like a drill that you can drill through walls, or you have like a laser and a vacuum that sucks up money, and a sword. But like it's so much money to do this. It just feels like such a chore that I just always just get the adapter plug for the Buster, which allows you to equip 3 different things, and then just kind of have like the ultimate Buster loadouts.
Oh, I didn't get that.
That was very key, very crucial.
That would have been very nice to get. I bought a few of the items, but I just never had money in this game. I felt like I would go into a town, upgrade, and just run out of money like in no time. So that kind of made me feel, just handicapped with things where I didn't really. I mean, I would kill every enemy I saw. I don't want to, like, everything I saw in a dungeon, I would kill, but you just never get that much money, it felt like. Or you spend so much money so quickly.
Yeah, this is true. There's definitely a bit more of a spend for anything, but.
And that was annoying. Like, I couldn't go to a town, finish a dungeon, sell the refractor. I did the optional dungeons except for the S license ones, and I just didn't have money to spend. I didn't like them. It just bothered me.
I guess, maybe you're meant to grind. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if I would have known about the secret, what you can do to get money, I got $1 million over. You can get 3 million an hour with that, fighting an enemy if you're S rank. I did not, but I got like 1 million, 1.5. I'm like, okay, I'm done now. Enough of this. I'm going to go finish the game. And I upgraded my shiny laser a whole bunch, and then still couldn't max it out because it cost 3 million to max out the shiny laser, by the way.
Yeah, that's excessive.
Yeah, but I do think the quiz section that we're talking about is a really good example of the ways they make the areas and the characters really interesting and memorable, even like the smaller ones. Because like, despite how rushed at times the game feels, the game is still really good at building that world. And like, you have the mayor of the second town who is the worst guy. I hate him so much. Because he's just like, they can't get us. We're gonna blow everything up before they get to us. It's like, dude, shut up. You're gonna kill everybody, and you do. Like when you lose the boss fight against the birds, he just blows up the town.
Yeah.
It's like, what kind of leader is that? Like, everyone trusts you? I don't know. It seems he's getting too much of a pass. I think we should beat him ourselves.
I mean, blow up the town just because they got past you, like, that is kind of ridiculous. We're gonna kill everybody because you got a little too close.
And that's just like what I love about this series. And I know it's blasphemous for me to say, because I know like a lot of people have such fond love of like Mega Man and Mega Man X. Like, I think this might be my favorite Mega Man series, and it's not because it's like perfect games, but they're just so like flawed gems, and I just love being in this world. Like, when I play Mega Man Legends 1, like, that's literally a 3-hour game if you don't do any of the optional stuff, probably even less. Mm-hmm. But, like, most of the submissions are just like, I'm going to go and buy hospital equipment so a girl can walk. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go find all these items so this person can have a baller-ass museum. Yeah. Or I'm going to be on this show so this TV station can get excellent ratings, and none of it is necessary.
Right.
But it's all so much fun, and like, you just love being in this world and talking to these people. Like, there's no cynicism. Like, if someone said, like, if you could live in one world in a video game, which would it be? And I would definitely pick this one.
Yeah, Catalog's Island's great. And like, there's also like a lot of time in that game to explore the different systems. Like, I didn't even know like the morality system came back in Legends 2 because there's no time to really go into it.
I didn't really even know how to kick the can in the garbage pail in this one. Like, it's not as easy. Like, you don't have like a giant soccer post, like goal post, like target like in Legends 1.
I didn't even bother to try to do it. That just seemed. I saw it. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all these different questions for the quiz right now. God, you're not kidding. Somebody's like, who started the 1996 movie Evita? Like, just random ass shit.
Things you would have known as a 90s child, maybe, but like just like asking about like a virgin and the Sex Pistols just got me in a way. Like, that's so funny. And
I think I forget how many questions are actually built into this, because you don't always get repeats too. Okay, right. You get a lot of money. You get $2 million for answering one of these quizzes.
What?
For Xenia? It looks like she got like $2 million. The guy did in the video.
Oh, I thought you lost money, because I thought every time you lost money, the mayor took it from you to help rebuild the town. Because I remember when I was like, I kept trying doing it, and then when I went out, I was like, oh man, like the town is being rebuilt.
Oh, you pay a fee to do it, but I didn't realize it went to that.
That's cool. Yeah, the year the French Revolution began, the year the Franco-Prussian War began, and what year? Like, this is stuff that, what did Jimi Hendrix do at the Monterey something festival? Like, just weird shit that they put in here that I did not remember any of this.
I will say, on your point about liking Legends more than the regular series, I like Legends a lot as well. I also like Battle Network too. Like, the world of Battle Network seems to be another really interesting area, like place to be in. I think Mega Man did the spin-off games so good. They just did it so much better than most companies do.
Yeah, I agree. I remember being in high school, and I would try to convince people. I was like, you have to play Mega Man Legends, and then people would just kind of dismissively be like, well, but it's not Mega Man because you don't fight the 8 robots. He doesn't even have a helmet on the cover. Like, I know. And I was just like, actually, what I appreciate in this game is at the end, you do have a Mega Man style boss gauntlet with all of the enemies, which I thought was a clever throwback.
But it's the same thing of like the whole Wind Waker is not true Zelda thing. It's like people really needed to get over that, and for Zelda, it would happen quickly because Wind Waker was such a classic, like best-selling title, and this wasn't.
What do you think about Mario 64? Like, when you play Mario on Nintendo and Super Nintendo, like, it was a action platformer, but Mario wasn't like this AAA gymnast.
Right.
Like, it wasn't about collecting things. Like, Mario 64 was still about running and jumping on things, but Mario had so much of a repertoire of moves, and it was about collecting stars as opposed to just getting through levels. And this kind of had like the spirit of Mega Man, even though it's not exactly like a one-to-one.
Right.
Like, there's way more, like, jumping is kind of an afterthought. Like, there's no tricky platforms or spikes. It's mostly just laser focus on like action. There's more platforming in this in the first.
I just don't know if there's any other series in games that has had such a wide swath of like spin-offs that have been so successful on their own. And like have recontextualized everything about the games and about what you know. Like, the Battle Network is a complete overhaul where, like, you know, everything's in like these digitized like PETs, and all the attacks are in chips, and you got to feed Mega Man the right chips, kind of like a deck building game almost.
But I think Battle Network, and I do agree with you, Mike, because I know you kind of quietly mentioned Final Fantasy. Yes, like, there's a lot of, because you have like Final Fantasy Tactics and like the Chocobo racing games, and not all of them are hits.
And you have the Dissidia games, which are fighting games. And like, I was kind of joking because he is right. Like, Mega Man did good with spin-offs. I haven't played a majority of them, I'm finding out, but like this, for example, like, this was a completely different spin on Mega Man, but it works well.
Yeah.
Battle Network is almost like the perfect game for the perfect time, because it was when Pokemon was big, and even like when it's with a third installment, it was like, okay, we're going to have 2, and you have to trade back and forth. Right. And it was a great thing, because when you think of like when I was growing up, because I grew up with Mega Man, I know some people picked it up later, so I was used to 8 robots, the challenge. But for, say, someone getting a Game Boy Advance in 2001 and they cut their teeth on Pokemon, like, you had Mega Man Zero for people like me, but then someone's like, okay, well, I this Mega Man thing is cool, but here's this other thing that's like Pokemon, like a little bit with like a Mega Man spin, where we kind of recontextualize what Dr. Wily is and what all the robot masters are and things like that.
And I was a little child during this time, so my first game was Mega Man Legends in like the Mega Man universe, and then it was like, okay, then I have Battle Network 2, and that's all I'm gonna have for a few years. And so my I knew what Mega Man was other than that because I followed games, but my personal experience were these other spin-offs that had nothing to do with Robot Masters and 2D platform.
And I think that this game and another big hurdle, like it's a lot less than this one. Like Mega Man Legends 1, I will admit, I love that game, warts and all, but for someone picking it up now, like the way it controls, where it's almost like a Resident Evil tank thing where you constantly have to like babysit the camera by moving the triggers, and this one
you can reassign the controls in Legends 1 to be a little bit better.
Yeah, and then like in Legends 1, like your lock on, like you're more or less locked in place, you're standing still, but in this one, like you can move the camera with the right analog stick, and when you lock onto an enemy, like it's like Z targeting in Ocarina of Time. I think the only place where that really falls, there's a lot of areas, like there's a section before you go to the water temple where you have to go stop Glide, and he's holding some random islanders.
He kidnapped a girl.
Yeah.
And the final boss where the enemies are in the air, so you're looking upwards and the camera's upwards, but they're throwing things down at you, so it's really hard to kind of avoid them without getting hit, and it gets really frustrating. That's why I would have loved to see like they really need to remake Legends 1 and 2, like remake. Imagine this like with a modern camera and just an aiming system. Like this could be really something special, but like I get it. Like these weren't. I think they sold well, but not super
Legends
well.
1 sold well,
and Legends 2 was like it came out in North America the same month as the PlayStation 2, and when the Dreamcast was out. So
not a good time.
No.
Yeah, like for me, like I just got a PlayStation, so I was playing catch up, and I loved Mega Man, and I had Legends and Tron Bun, so I was in. But I was remember trying to convince people to play Legends 2, and none of them, they were so apathetic, like they did not care.
Well, anytime that you release a game after the next system is out, I mean, I think it's less now where people are more like, okay, but back then it wasn't like people moved on to the next system right away.
I hate that. I think like it's a whole system. You bought it. It's yours. There's a whole library of things to enjoy. I don't know why people can't just like have their cake and eat it too.
Well, plus they're usually not even that. Like some of the best games of a system come out after the new system is released.
Yeah.
And I think
God of War 2, for example, didn't that come out on PS3?
Yeah, PS2 first.
Well, yeah, it came out on PS2, but I mean, like PS3 had already came out. I think when God of War 2 comes out.
Yeah, like PS3 was 2006, and God of War was March 2007. And like the PlayStation 2 was fully backwards compatible, and like I don't know what the price was in the US, as I'm in Canada, but
$100.
Well, that was a PS3, but when the PS2 came out, it was like $500 here. It was really expensive.
It was expensive here too. I mean, at that time it was like $150 because I worked at Target at the time when PS3 came out, and I mean, until PS2 was still around, they were still selling them all the time.
And like for me, when the PS2 came out, I know some people will feel differently. Like the launch lineup did nothing for me. Like I didn't care. Okay, like get your pitchforks out. I didn't really care about Time Splitters or
Time Splitters is not a great game.
Or Ridge Racer. Like none of these launch games were right in my alley. But like there were so many people. At least I mean, I live in a small corner of the world. Like when the PS2 came out, everyone I knew just got the PSONE. Like Tony Hawk, they wanted to play Spider-Man, they wanted to play Final Fantasy IX. Because when you think about that year when the PlayStation 2 launched, like in North America, it was like Legends 2, Final Fantasy IX, Dino Crisis 2, Parasite Eve 2. Like there was a lot of good PlayStation games.
Parasite Eve 2 does not fall in good game.
Well, I mean, it reviewed well at the time. Like I think in EGM it got a silver. It's maybe not good in hindsight, but like for big budget, high production games,
sure.
Like there was still stuff, and like Fear Effect 2, I think was around the corner.
See, I would argue Mega Man Legends, despite the controls being a little wonky, still holds up, especially compared to all the games you just mentioned.
Oh yeah, I mean, this game held up well. Like even, I mean, I like The water dungeon I wasn't a big fan of. Like the fire dungeon I was a fan of. I liked that dungeon. I was running around killing enemies. I didn't enjoy lava, but it was still played well.
Sure. Like, I mean, Legends 2, yes. Legends 2 has all the improvements, but I think Legends 1 as its own thing is still a top 10 PS1 game you can go back to.
Oh yeah.
I would argue that like Metal Gear Solid notwithstanding, because that was kind of, I guess you have in North America, we got VR missions, which came with Metal Gear Solid in Japan. Mm-hmm. Like, I would argue, okay, maybe Final Fantasy, because those were like hundreds of hours, that this is maybe like the best series of games on the original PlayStation, like better than Crash, better than Spyro, even better than like Tomb Raider. Like, this is such a great realized world. Like, the graphics are unlike anything else on the PlayStation.
They still hold up well enough that you can understand what everything is. Everything is stylized.
They still look good enough. Because like when I go back to a lot of old games, I skip the PS1 era a lot. Because PS1 is very hard to go back to because of the style. It just doesn't look good in any shape or form a lot of times. And this game still was pretty enough. And like you said, understandable enough. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't clicking on things, not having any idea to trying to find an item that I just can't register. Like, oh, that's a box? Okay. Like it wasn't, that's happened before. So...
Like Wind Waker, this is like cel shading done in a time when that really wasn't a thing.
It's the theme.
Yeah, it's not exactly cel shading either, but it fits really, really well with what they were doing.
Oh, and a funny thing I want to mention, when I was first playing Mega Man Legends 2 by my wife, who's never played Mega Man, but she knows the Mega Man, and she's like, this isn't Mega Man. Mega Man's a little guy that jumps, goes, choo, 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 choo. This ain't Mega Man. It was pretty funny to me. I'm like, this is a different Mega Man.
What I found shocking, because it's a lot of the same actors from the first game.
Yes.
So, like, it's Teasel, Tron, Gramps, Roll. Like, those are the returning characters. For listeners, don't look into the voice actor for Teasel Bond if you don't want to be heartbroken.
Yeah, some happened there. I
won't get into it, but what shocked me...
Oh, it's not a good person, correct?
No.
No.
Okay. I'll leave it as that.
What was interesting to me is that Mega Man was recast. Not only was he recast, but the second I turned it on, I'm like, that is Sailor Jupiter.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, that, okay, like, I know, like Tara Strong can play, like, actresses like that can play different people, but when Mega Man spoke, I'm like, that is, I can't hear anything other than Sailor Jupiter, because it's the same voice.
Well, for Legends, they cast an actual 12-year-old boy to play Mega Man, and so, Legends 2 coming out 3 years later, it's like, well, they either go the Sora route where they just stick with him, or they just recast him to still sound like he's supposed to be 12.
It's interesting. There's a channel here. There's a YouTube channel, and they look at a channel here in Canada called YTV, and they interview a bunch of people who did YTV shows, and they have one of the actors, speaking of Sailor Moon, who was the voice of Tuxedo Mask, but he was also the voice of Glide, and he did a live stream, and I was like, oh man, can you tell me what the process was like? Like, what was I doing Glide? And he was like, I'll tell you what, I don't even remember. He's like, I went into a booth and it's like, I have a bunch of things to do. Here's your lines. And I did them and left. Yeah. He's like, I went to a convention and someone was like, can you sign this? I love this character. And he's like, I didn't even know I was in this.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of voice actors in my time, and they kind of have similar stories. They're like, yeah, I don't even remember. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, there's not a big character where you do it like once, like, especially something like this. Glide only has so many lines, so not like you're doing something like Yuna in Final Fantasy X or something where you're, becomes a big part of your life, I feel.
Yeah. And I think Glide had a different actor in Tron Bond. I can't remember what he sounded like, to be honest. So I think they recast it within months.
I do want to talk about the desert town where you have to go in, and there's one point where you fight a boss, one of the Tron Bonds, and you're supposed to defeat and not blow up the statue. I tried that, but I just kept blowing up the statues. I said, fuck it, destroyed the statue. And they're like, oh, you got to pay for it. And I'm like, just never went back to the town, never paid them, nothing. I just never bothered.
It's a slow process. All you have to do is, you just kind of have to shoot a bullet, and then he goes down, and gets up, and you shoot another bullet. It just takes forever.
Yeah, he was a hard boss fight, though, in general. I did not, because once you break the statue, he runs around like a madman trying to kill you.
I'm trying to remember what I was using. Was it the homing missiles, maybe? I was using something where I was able to, just keep firing.
There is a weapon you can do that with. I watched a guide where that's what he did.
I would just circle strafing and jumping with a buster, and he would kind of duck, and he would get up, and they would shoot him, and it just took a while.
And maybe I just increased my range is what it was. I think I just increased my range, and I just was able to do it pretty easily.
There's some cool moments in this game. I did like the fire boss, which is a giant reaver bot that's just huge. It looks like a giant dinosaur. I like that guy.
That was spoiled for me. It was also in the Tron demo disc.
Oh.
I think it's
cool.
It's cool to mention too, like the whole desert town thing, kind of like the whole like fortress segment in the first island. They're just actual sieges. Like you are participating in a siege.
I like that though. I like how the pirates are attacking cities and you're defending them.
And like, not even that, you're like infiltrating their bases. Yeah, you're. It's like actual war tactics. You're participating in for some reason, and I think that's fascinating. Like I really felt like I was storming this castle, storming this town, in ways that like Call of Duty could never touch.
There's some really cool moments in this game. Like when you go back to the first town that you were at, the ice town. You have to get on the train and you do a whole train section. That I thought was pretty damn cool too.
Oh, I love that boss. Like just the music and like catching the Serbots and throwing them back.
I couldn't figure that out. It took me a while until I had to look up what to do, and they're like, catch them. Like, oh, okay, because my brain was just blowing them up, waiting for something to happen.
If they're coming straight at you, you can catch them, but if they're coming downwards, you just kind of have to shoot them.
But it was a cool thing that it had it there. You had to, and then like you're on a train, you have to blow up another train, which is the Tron bonds again. I like that the Tron bonds aren't the main focus in this game because you have, but they do show up a decent amount more in the second half. Where the first half it's Glide and his other people, or the mercenaries.
Well, it's they almost have like a pirate for every island because like the first area it's like the bonds, and then you fight Bola in the dungeon, and in the second area it's Glide, and you fight Claymore in the dungeon, and then the third area it's just the bonds, and then in the fourth area, and it's cool is like you start off in this snowy town, and then you come back there later, but because you freed everyone from Forbidden Islands, there's a whole new population of people, and everyone is super nice to you because. Like you brought everyone back.
You advance all these storylines in like the background, even like so someone's husband comes back after like 10, 20 years.
I never caught that. I didn't realize that because I didn't talk to people in the game.
Right.
I just did what I had to do. I just wasn't concerned. But it's very cool. Like I don't know, the train just really kind of got me. Like, and in the end part, after you blow up the back of it, you're running like you're fighting it, and then you do see like you were saying, God, what the hell? The other Tron Bon, the baby one, whatever his name.
Bon.
You see him at the head of the train. I thought that was kind of cool. And fighting him in the little fight you do in the fireplace was kind of cool, too.
I think Bonbon's supposed to be the oldest, too, which is funny.
Oh, okay. It's just, it was just fun. Like, it was cool, and I liked the boss fights in this game for the most part. And then you get to the last ruin, which I liked how the last ruins is actually in the first town that you went to in the game, and now you go back to it, and it's an ice ruins.
Oh, real quick. Did you find the minigame in the desert section?
What minigame?
The racing?
Yes.
Mike, you probably never got it because it only unlocks if you save the statue.
Oh, I didn't get it then. I didn't care. It was an optional on my guide. I kept going.
It's not a great racing minigame, but it's there.
Yeah, because in Legends 1, like you have these racing courses and they're very doable, but in this one, like I do not know how you get them. Like it's very pinpoint precision to get around, and
all the boosts
kind of doesn't allow for that.
Yeah,
I don't like the reward is that great either.
I feel like that was a very big PS2 thing where lots of platformers had to have a racing minigame. I don't like racing minigames.
Yes.
I don't like racing games to begin with, so I really don't want a minigame in my game with racing.
Yeah, but anyway, back to the Fourth Temple. This one was really interesting as well, I thought, with the whole ice thing and like how it was using like multi-level rooms to break through the walls and get to the floors.
I think it was a good dungeon.
One of the things I had trouble with, there's a series of locks, and Roll is basically like there's 3 holes in the ground, and there's 3 Reaver bots and 3 doors. I wonder what the puzzle is. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I have to get these things run into the holes.
That was hard though.
That is hard.
It's so tricky. I don't have that locked down about how to do it.
You're supposed to go in front of the hole, and then you have to get the elephant guy to be near you. So when he charges at you, you draw out of the way. But if they're too far, they just stop. They don't go in the hole.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to just line it up. You have to get them tempted and close enough before they charge. I did not like it at all.
I remember one time I even got like one of them to like fall on top of another one, and that killed both of them. So I had to restart.
Oh wow, I never had that happen.
And I think it restarted me with 2 in the hole already, but like that was such a defeating moment of like I did it, but I did it the wrong way.
It was just, I mean, you only need, I think, one of them because two of the holes just open up optional items you can get.
Sure, but yeah I like doing stuff.
I got all three too. I got the correct one in the end by accident.
Also worth mentioning too that with that dinosaur fight, I believe that's also the time when Mega Man gets to see Tron naked, which again is this continuing thread.
Oh yeah, where his eyes are all big and he's just like, what the?
Yeah. Like that again, like very heteronormative narrative going on here. A little boring if you ask me, but you know.
It's just unnecessary. I mean, it was kind of humor. I'm like, okay. And then I want to talk about in the Ice Temple, you have the slime boss, which was...
Yes.
I was not a big fan of this boss. It was interesting. That's the
one I thought you were talking about earlier. I like this one.
And it was okay. I mean, it had a bunch of changing elements, and it reminded me of Morpha a lot from Ocarina of Time. I mean, but the thing that annoyed me with him is he gets to a certain phase where he'll change the floor to make it so the floor will kill you, and you have to jump up and go on different platforms and shoot him from above, and then it was hard to dodge. I mean, I had save state, but it was hard to dodge his constant attacks, and he had a lot of invulnerable moments too, which irritated me. But I mean, it's cool boss.
It's kind of what I brought up earlier, where it's just like when the camera is either when it's straight ahead of you, it's fine, but when it's going up or down, because you essentially have to circle strafe around this very narrow kind of square. But it's easy to fall off after a while because he's also throwing things on the platform that you also have to dodge while you're shooting him.
It doesn't exactly work with the systems they have, but you can do it. It's possible.
I mean, it wasn't the worst boss fight. I mean, I didn't really have a problem with any of the boss fights in this game, to be honest. I thought most were decent.
But the thing is, like, they all have like little tricks, and they all have, like, I love the general design of like the enemies of this world of Reaver bots. They look really cool. Like the dinosaur in the fire temple, like he's invulnerable until you turn off like the fire going into him that powers him.
Yeah.
Which is like a cool part of that dungeon where you have to go around to all these sub areas and things like that. And like they may not be like the tactics in this game and the first one are more or less just circle strafe and shoot and periodically jump out of the way to avoid a laser.
But also that was some of the games where you're doing that.
In that context, it's still like all these bosses are still look cool and we're always like, oh yeah, this one was really cool. And this one was really interesting. So
like it's a typical thing for those games, but I'm looking at other third person shooters and not many are as like actively about that.
Yeah.
I'm not playing Uncharted in the same way. It was around this point too that I started like looking in more of like the journals and like the letters that Mega Man gets. I went to the post office and you could read the letters that he gets, and he gets really nice ones from like the serve bots of all people.
Yeah, they're just like, like Miss Tron is really upset. Can you just come and be Serbot number like 43 and
42?
Like yeah, 42. She's like, she's really mean, but like she can be nice sometimes.
Yes,
I got one of those.
It's very cute. I did like that a lot.
And then the game, once you bring all four keys, that's when the game kind of progresses you. What I thought was going to be like the end of the game, like where, a point of no return, it's not exactly, but you end up fighting Yuna again, the girl from the reporter from the beginning that turned out not to be a reporter. You fight her ship, which I liked that. I thought that was a cool fight in the air. And then, because didn't like the two people that you rescued earlier when you went to Forbidden Island, they attack or something, I think?
Well, you recover Sarah from the islands, and once you get all the keys, because they kind of say, well, if you find the keys, we'll give you this treasure and all this lock technology, and in return, we just really want to live out the rest of our lives, even though you look at them and they're like, clearly these people are sinister and they're the bad guy, but you still do it anyway. And once they get all the keys, they kind of hijack the ship and they attack you. Okay. So Sarah's the one you're fighting, her robot, because her and kind of Roll's mom, it's the revelation is that essentially everyone in this world is a clone, because throughout the Mega Man history, humanity was wiped out except for like this being called a master who just cloned a bunch of humans and put them on Earth. And Sarah is the kind of like Mega Man lives with the master on this place called Elysium, which is this space station in the sky. And this is like this perfect utopia where no one ever ages, no one gets sick, no one wants for anything. And Sarah's kind of the, I guess, caretaker of this unit, and Yuna is the caretaker of Earth.
And Mega Man's just like the assistant.
Yeah, he's kind of a cop.
Created by the Master. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, if there is a robot that gets out of place or just starts acting up, like that's why I kind of thought that it was going to be revealed that he was Mega Man X. Because Mega Man X is very much just like, or X rather, is I don't want to fight, I just want peace. And it seems like Trigger would have been X, like reincarnated or something.
It's not that Trigger is X, Trigger is just Goku.
Yeah.
He just wants to eat all the time?
Well, he loves pizza.
I mean, this game, this game is such a complex story for a Mega Man game.
Yes, and I do kind of like that. It's interesting comparing this to Legends 1, where it just feels like they added so much more kind of after the fact.
Yeah,
like some of it's there.
I didn't realize you were in a space station. I knew you weren't on Earth, but I didn't realize it was a space station you were on.
Well, space station or moon, it's like a society.
Or we're also forgetting the whole section where Mega Man gets like taken out for a minute.
Yeah, it's kind of, they have a big lore dump as to what actually happened, because you find out that like Roll's parents landed on Forbidden Island and then she was going to die. So Yuna, who was the kind of the mother unit, they're called mother units, or essentially like caretakers of like the systems that keep everything operating. She used her nano machines to keep Roll alive, but because Roll's father alive, mother, I'm getting mixed up. Essentially, she used too much of herself, so she had to take over her mother's body.
Yes.
And that's why she shows up at the beginning looking like Roll's mother.
But Roll's mother is actually dead, right?
Technically. Well, they imply that once Yuna leaves, that she'll come back.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the ending happens, and they can't do that because like her original body is being inhabited by Sarah now because you blew it up in the last fight.
Right. But like, there's like the whole section though where Mega Man like gets attacked, and then it's like a whole Final Fantasy VII Cloud moment where they like are piecing it back together, his mind.
Oh,
and
yeah.
A whole lore dump.
Where you see him, like you realize that he was on the space station, he was with the Master, and all this.
Yeah, and I really like that moment. Like, it's such a, I guess, as a teenager, it was very like deep for me. Where like you kind of have this conversation with the Master, where he says, like, I'm on this place called Elysium, and it's a perfect society where, like, we don't want for anything. Like, there's no disease, hunger, sickness, people don't age, but it's boring because everything is perfect. There's no hardship. You don't appreciate anything. But on Earth, like, people live, they die, but for this brief moment, like, they shine brighter in the sun. So he's like, just tear it all down. Like, this is not what perfection is. And that's kind of where the conflict begins, is that Roll's mother assists them, but Sarah can't go against her programming. That she has to defend Elysium's system.
But it makes it sound like that she could if she wanted to, but she feels that she's obligated to follow the programming.
But even like the last fight, she says, like, I didn't know the Master, like I thought I did, as I was up in Elysium, but like I couldn't go against him or didn't want to or something.
I have a complaint in the end, though. There's no shop in Elysium.
No, you have to go all the way back.
And that bothered me because I had so much Zenny at the end. They give you a bunch of Zenny when you in the final area and just chests, and there's no shop to go back to. I mean, I wasn't going to run all the way back to the beginning of the game. I'm like, that's not beginning of the game, but I'm like, beginning of the, I'm like, that's too much work. But I was irritated. I wanted to shop. At
the very least, like, there's an elevator to bring you from the central area back to the first room, so you can leave and go back.
Yeah, but even so, that's still a bit of work because you have to go through the different islands in the sky, I think, still, and through all the rooms you went through.
Yeah. Well, no.
Maybe not the islands. Not the
because it's like once you get to the central area, there's like the Master's room where if you go beat all the enemies and get all the money, you have to go back through all the spiral dungeons. Because essentially you go into the Master's area and it's like a Mega Man game where you essentially have to fight all the bosses again from the various dungeons and before you fight the last boss. And if you want to go back up and buy stuff, you have to go through this area, which is tedious. But like there's an elevator in the back of that room or in the back of that island that just sends you back to the landing bay that you can activate. And then you can just go back to Earth. And then I always go to the Sulphur Bottom store because it's like right outside your ship when you land.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, I didn't do any of that, but I cared, but I didn't care.
What I find weird is that, like, the conclusion of Mega Man Legends was Mega Man Juno launching the carbon carbon reanalyzation system, and I definitely said that wrong, which is essentially we're going to start over. We're going to kill everyone and just make new people.
Which is what the end of Mega Man Legends 1 was about as well.
Yeah, and then in this one, they're like, okay, we're just going to do that again. And Mega Man's like, carbon reanalyzation? Oh my god, why can't I say that word? And he's surprised, like he doesn't know what it is. It's like, but you just did that like the other day.
Right. He got over it, and then they gotta do it again because he failed to do it. It's the Goku thing. He didn't do his task, and so now you got the second wave of units trying to do the task. Because Juno failed, and now it's up to Yuna and Sarah to do it.
But then Mega Man's like puzzled, like he doesn't know what it is, and it's like, oh no, crap, they're gonna do that again. Would have been more appropriate.
Data knew about it.
Yeah.
I think Mega Man's just kind of dumb and 12. To be honest.
And I didn't enjoy the refights. I don't enjoy refights in Mega Man in general, so I was annoyed when I had to do it again here. I wasn't surprised, but I was annoyed because I wasn't expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know it's a Mega Man game, but Legends 1 didn't make you do refight. You only got to refight 4 bosses, the 4 Guardians from the keys, but I still was annoyed.
I think it was like kind of an answer to everyone who said, like, well, this isn't like Mega Man because you don't do this. And then you're just like, here you go. It's just as tedious as the other ones.
And then you get to the final boss, which is Sarah in like a giant... You fight her... With the first form, she's in like an armor body, and that was a fight. I had save states, but I could see that being a fight.
That wasn't as bad as the second one. The second one, my only strategy is get a bunch of money, go back to the store, buy as much energy for your energy canteen as possible, and brute force it. Because their attacks are so hard to avoid.
And do you mean the second final boss in Legends 2, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, so I tried that for a couple hours, trying to beat that.
Ooh.
And then I did what you said, basically. I went back, I got my energy refill canteen up to like 32 units, and then I just got the Shining Laser and made quick work of it.
Yeah, that's what the guide I was looking at, and it's a video I'm watching with the speedrun. If the Shining Laser is fully upgraded, you just turn her into butter. She just dies.
I didn't even fully upgrade it. I just got it. I think I might have upgraded it once.
Okay,
how much
that's
work
kind of what
is
I
it
did.
to do that?
It was pretty quick.
Yeah, okay.
The Shining Laser is the only problem is you can't run, but it's a powerful weapon.
Yes.
I think it's the best weapon in the game.
It was the first one.
You only get it when you go to Elysium. It's in like the background somewhere. One of the pieces of it is that you need, and then you got to go all the way back to roll, which is what I did. But then I never went back again. But yeah, no, and I was a little surprised when I saw all of a sudden she had a second form. I'm like, ah, damn it! I'm like, damn you, Mega Man.
Yeah.
After all the Mega Man games you played for this show, you were shocked that the boss had a second form.
I was. I think Juno had 2 forms too, right?
That's like saying, like, I can't believe it's Dr. Wily.
I thought it was Mr. X. Yeah, no. No, it was a little... I don't know why I was surprised, to be honest. And then the game has an ending where you guys get stuck on Elysium because you can't get back, and then you see Roll and Tronbon trying to find a way to rescue them.
And they're working together. It brings forward that plot line where in the desert dungeon, you're kind of collaborating with for a minute. And they're like, okay, we're back to being enemies now. But then actually, no, they're not.
Well, it's my favorite line in the entire game when Teasel says to someone, when what's his name, the monkey came back. I don't know what, it just gets me every single time the way he delivers that. And they're essentially just trying to build like a NASA spaceship. It's not some super advanced spaceship, but the two of them, like, Roll is like, well, we do it this way, and Tron is trying to do it another way, and Data's like, it's super easy, just let me show you, but they're too proud because of their like mechanics, and it's like kind of a joke. And now I'm sad because I'm just thinking about like Capcom of that era where it's like, you know what, we're just going to make another one. We'll green like anything. And now I remember finishing this and be like, oh yeah, there's a third one coming. Still waiting.
Maybe Microsoft will buy Capcom and we'll just have it on the Xbox Series.
Yeah. I didn't realize this game was 22 years old.
But
I also didn't realize it's been 12 years since Legend 3 got canceled.
Yeah, I remember that very, very clearly. That was such a awful moment for Capcom fans.
And the whole reason they canceled it was because they didn't get enough feedback on the website.
Well,
and also Keiji Inafune left.
Yeah, and they were not happy.
I don't like, because Matt McMuscle's actually on the day of recording this, like he did a What Happened video about Legends 3.
I just watched that.
And I get fan feedback, But let's face it, like, fans are not game designers. They don't have no idea how games are made or what goes into it. Like, don't ask people to make stuff because they're just going to make fan fiction. Like, people don't know what they want until you show it to them. So you have to make that story for better or for worse and be committed to making it. And if it comes out and it's bad, that sucks. If it comes out and it's great, that would be the better outcome. But, like, don't go to, like, a message board forum and be like, it's like the Funzo toy from The Simpsons. Like, it should have all the firepower and it should be lovable, but it should also be dangerous. Like, and then that was kind of the litmus test, apparently.
I remember that very fondly, like that whole user community trying to make Legends 3. And, you know, you look back at it differently now because it's like, oh, it's kind of fans doing free work and all that stuff. But I think for the time, it was an intriguing concept that I can't fault them too much for trying. I just hate that they relied on it to that degree.
Well, I don't think they wanted to. I mean, once he left, they just didn't want to make Mega Man games.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Squaresoft kind of does the same thing. Like, you know, we keep getting Romancing Saga games because that guy is still there versus games that other people want we don't get because, you know, they're not there anymore.
Right.
Like a sequel to Chrono Cross. We didn't get that.
Well, that's an entirely different bag of worms.
Yeah.
If you want the Chrono Cross people, you have to reunite Monolith Soft with the makers of Final Fantasy XI.
Yeah, I'm never getting those sequels, I know.
But I digress. Yeah, that was the same time Mega Man Universe got canceled. There was a third Mega Man game, I think, that got canceled as well around that
Maverick
time.
Hunter.
Yes.
First-person shooter.
And then that was when Ace Attorney Investigations 2 didn't get localized in North America. So there was a whole Ace Attorney game on DS that just got ignored. People were upset that the Mercenaries Resident Evil mode got its own 3DS game. There was just a lot happening for Capcom.
Yeah, I think it was just a lot of growing pains in the industry in general, because it was like the HD era and budgets were just ballooning, which is like, why? Like, when I go back and play games like Legends 1, and I know it's PlayStation 1 games, there may not be as graphically impressive. I think the trolls aren't as great, but the thing about that era is that, like, there was a spin-off of Mega Man Legends about Tron Bonne stealing things from people. Mm-hmm. And that game got a green light in production and it came out and it probably did well enough. Like, there's no such thing as games that are being made because they can do well enough anymore. Like, everything is so heavily focused and, like, Capcom is better than before, but, like, that's if you... Like, I really like Resident Evil and I like the latest Resident Evils and the remakes, but I don't really care for Monster Hunter, and that's like their bread and butter now. And I get why they keep making that and why they don't make, say, Power Stone 3, but that doesn't make it any less sad that I don't have a Power Stone 3 or Legends 3.
It's because there's nothing left. Like, the 3DS was like the last system to basically be an SD console. Like, everything since then has been HDified. There's no way to, like, have that small game and that small budget be made.
And even, like, the 3DS, that's such a rocky start. As I remember having a 3DS, and I had, like, Street Fighter 4 and Rayman, and, like, I don't give a crap about Tom Clancy games, but I remember buying Ghost Recon just because I was so starved for anything to do with that system. And then, like, a bunch of promised games. And I get it because, like, I know they're going to do, like, Assassin's Creed and Legends 3 and Splinter Cell, and these things came out.
No, Assassin's Creed didn't come out. That was just became Revelations.
Yeah, like, Splinter Cell came out and Snake Eater came out, yes.
Yes.
But then, like, they're like, oh, there's going to be a Resident Evil game, but then Resident Evil got ported to everything. And, like, Castlevania got ported to consoles. And the Batman game we talked about the other week got ported to consoles. Because the DS was, like, this great era where you can make these really cool games for, like, $30.
Yeah.
But then this was the kind of the start of the mobile gaming thing where it's like, well, why are you going to make these games? We can make, like, Marvel Avengers Alliance and have it riddled with microtransactions.
Yeah. And if you want to make an indie game on Steam and be at $20, there's so much limited to what that could be these days.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be like a side-scrolling platformer, it feels like, or like maybe you can get away with some like lower budget indie game for $40. That's like a 3D modeled thing, but it's just not the same anymore.
It's a Metroidvania with roguelike and crafting elements.
Are there spiritual successors to Mega Man Legends series?
There were supposed to be.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with Mighty Number 9?
Yes, I am.
When Mighty Number 9 was still happening, they had an entire other game they were kickstarting called, what's it called? Red Ash?
Yes.
That was supposed to be the Mega Man Legends version of Mighty Number 9.
Oh. That didn't work out very well.
No, it didn't. It did. I don't think it got fully funded. They were supposed to have outsider help. Never got completed.
There was supposed to be an anime and a Chinese publisher called Fuse, I believe, was supposed to put it out.
But that's right there with the 3DS and Vita ports of Mighty Number 9 that never happened as well, despite being a thing that was part of the Kickstarter.
Because it failed so bad.
Yes.
I have a copy of Mighty Number 9 that I got dirt cheap. But
I have a Wii U copy. I think that's what everyone has. It's like one of the Wii U games that's most commonly out there these days.
I have
Xbox One. PS4. Okay. I think that was one of the Kickstarters that I did, and I started it. I think by the time it came out, I had a PlayStation 4, and then I played it for like 5 minutes, and I was like, I don't care about this.
It's a bad game, right? From what I've heard.
I heard it's okay if you give it a shot, but the mechanics, it's not a Mega Man game. It is and it isn't.
Well, he wasn't actually involved in it. He was just involved in getting it off the ground. So
yeah,
he didn't actually work on it.
I mean, Keiji Inafune kind of did. It was his company, Concept, that was working on it.
But Concept is they were more of like there's a whole What Happened video from Matt Muscles from it where like he talks about he was involved, but he wasn't. Like Concept was not a company to develop game. They were a company that would come up with an idea and then pass it to someone else.
Yeah, well, Inafune for years, I think, even his last time at Capcom, he wasn't in the trenches. He was just like a producer.
Yeah.
So I guess he would still oversee things, but he wasn't kind of like, and even like for Mega Man games, like his name are on these, but I think he was championing them, but someone else was directing them.
Yeah, he wasn't that involved in stuff later on.
So let's briefly go over the history of Concept, because I think it's fascinating. where Keiji Inafune leaves, forms this new company called Concept, which is kind of, I guess, a consulting thing and works with other developers and publishers to get stuff made. And so, Mighty Number 9, they come out, they have a couple mobile games to kickstart for Mighty Number 9. Their first actual published game was a PSP visual novel called Sweet Fuse, At Your Side, which is about Keiji Inafune's niece going to like an amusement park in Japan where Keiji Inafune is there, and like him and a bunch of people get kidnapped, and it's kind of like a Danganronpa 999 kind of game where there's like this evil pig guy, and it's kind of like an otome game. So Keiji Inafune's niece is also courting all these guys that are there with her.
I had no idea this existed.
It's a game that exists and is in America. It got localized, thankfully.
What the fuck?
But yeah, you're just Keiji Inafune's niece. You're trying to date these hot guys. You're trying to save your uncle. And it's like, everyone's kind of held hostage in a way. But,
Okay, this just sounds... what system is this on?
PSP.
That's why. Okay,
you can also play it on Vita, but,
What's it called?
Sweet Fuse, At Your Side.
Okay.
I just think it's crazy, because I remember when that Kickstarter started, it was very much just like, well, Capcom killed off Mega Man, and we're going to just do it ourselves as they don't want to. And it was this whole thing like, yeah, let's give those big guys the middle finger and put our money in, and we're going to do this. But by the time he actually kind of got around to putting it out, Capcom had started writing their ship. Like Mega Man Legacy Collection came out, and it was this brilliant collection that sold like 1 million copies. And then like the Resident Evil remakes were in the works, and Resident Evil 7 was in the works, and Devil May Cry came back, and they had all these other collections.
But then you had the other stuff that Concept was working on. Soul Sacrifice, the Vita game, and I guess Soul Sacrifice Delta, which I've heard are fine, which I heard are not amazing, but they're okay games. But then you have like the Ninja Gaiden game, Yaiba, the weird cel-shaded one.
Oh yeah, I have that.
Which I heard was not great.
Yeah.
You have Recore, which I heard was not great.
I didn't want to play that. I
want to play Recore. Recore is actually almost on the show multiple times because my co-host Mike wanted to play it really bad, so we had it on there a couple times, but it never made it to the final season.
Maybe we can do Recore later this year or something. Because
my roommate has it, but I don't have an Xbox One or a Series. I don't have a gaming PC either.
Yeah. But then, so Recore failed. Mighty Number 9 failed. The Kickstarter for Red Ash failed. They had a 3DS game called Kaio King of Pirates that was supposed to be their first game that also got canceled and lost a ton of money, millions of dollars. And so, this concept idea kind of just really crashed and burned all around, which is wild because Keiji Inafune is such a notable person and like had such a following.
Mm-hmm.
I think for like he was one of those gaming celebrities.
Yeah, I would.
And I think that was like why you don't see that anymore. Like you don't have auteurs because, and I'm not saying people kind of age out of their crafts or lose touch, but it's kind of what does happen is that, you have your people who kind of, they get almost too much leeway, and then there isn't, like, Hideo Kojima is still making great games that people enjoy, but, like, they're kind of just, Stranding. Like, passion projects that are kind of, like, when I think of Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, like, there's lots of story, but there's also great games, but the other ones are kind of just, like...
Ooh, 4 is great, too.
Yeah, we're going to take, like,
4.
an open-world Metal Gear, we're going to make this... People love Death Stranding. Like when I hear like 20 hours of just like co-op before you actually do anything, like it doesn't inspire me to run out and play it.
That depends. I don't mind that in a game as long as I have the time for a game like that.
Death Stranding was a marvelously zen experience for me. I played it like 60, 70 hours in a week.
Damn.
And beat it. But it was like such a wild time. Because in a way, it is that walking simulator thing people talk about, but I really dug the pacing.
Okay. Are you guys...
go ahead.
I'll keep finishing. Oh.
I would say, I think auteurs, like, there's a debate of whether you can call them auteurs or not, because blah, 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 game development's a collaborative thing. But I think auteurs like that, they need the guidance, but they also need the opportunity to continue doing original concepts. Where I think Inafune kind of got stuck up was he was trying to do Mega Man again. And like you also have Koji Igarashi that did Bloodstained after doing Castlevania, but it seemed like he was trying to still forward the series and put in all these other things that he wanted to do. I'm not sure if my number 9 was exactly that or...
No, because Bloodstained is really good, I think. When I played it, I didn't finish it, but I really, really liked it.
I think Bloodstained is good. I don't think it's great. I think it has a lot of problems. It has a really hard start.
Yeah.
I just think for him, I remember reading interviews where he's like, I kind of would like to make this other thing, but like I know it wouldn't sell commercially, so people want me to make this, so I guess I'll keep banking it, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like he's stuck in that of, I'm going to do this because people want it, not because I care about it. And so that's how you get, I think, my number 9.
You don't make a better product when you're
Inafune also had like very outspoken opinions of like the Japanese game industry is dead and we're going to do all these like Western projects, and then under his watch you had like Lost Planet 3 and Bionic Commando, which is kind of so bad it's kind of amazing, and Dark Void and all these games that lost money.
Because Ninja Gaiden Z also was co-developed by the people who made, I think, Lost Planet 3.
Well, that would have been a Koei Tecmo joint, but like when he was with Capcom, they're like all these Western initiatives kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, they didn't do well.
And then like DMC was, I think, is excellent, but
I love DMC Devil May Cry. That's such a great game. I just replayed it this year.
A bunch of people will say it's. I think if they never had that stupid joke at the beginning, people would love that game, but that's besides the point.
It's a good game.
It is.
That joke is dumb. I know what you're talking about, where he's like, I don't need the wig. Yeah.
But then the entire game is like the story of him getting that hair.
Yes.
And like it's so good, and I actually think it's the best Devil May Cry, but that's besides the point. All those initiatives didn't pan out the way they wanted it to, and like it took Capcom bringing everything back in. Like when you think about like, oh, I forgot about Operation Raccoon City.
I like that game. I know it's a bad game. I'm not going to defend it, but I like it.
I bought it.
I have an episode about it.
$2 a while ago, and
that's what it's worth.
Yeah, but that's not what Capcom wants to hear.
It's not a good game, but I really liked it back in the day when I played it for the show. I hated it, but like it's a game in time.
It's the kind of thing where they closed down their Canadian developer who did the Dead Rising stuff because they just went all internal again.
Yeah, they were the last ones, because I think Dead Rising 2 did well and Dead Rising 3 did okay, but even then there's a whole story about them trying to get a bunch of stuff off the ground, and they're like, no, just make another Dead Rising. And then they actually had a really great Puzzle Quest mobile game that had Puzzle Fighter. It unfortunately had a really bad art style, but it was like a great Capcom game. Like Tron was in it, and like Phoenix Wright, and all these great, like Regina was one of the last characters.
Nice.
But then that was kind of like the last nail in the coffin. But now it's like they're doing everything eternally, and nearly everything, probably everything has been a hit, like Devil May Cry 5, Resident Evil 7, 8, and the remakes, and all the Monster Hunter games. And like the Ace Attorney stuff is still getting. I have the new Ace Attorney, but I haven't played it yet. The Chronicles.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard. I want to play those. I had to play everything again to get there, but
That's a good series.
yeah, like that's the
I've only
3DS
played the
game.
first game.
Finally getting localized again. Ace Attorney not getting localized and getting like the short shift in that 5 and 6 were digital only really rubbed me the wrong way as well.
Are you guys ready to go on to questions, comments, and memories? I have not a lot.
Sure, kind of sidetracked there.
Yeah, we can.
That's okay. I'm running out of time too. So, all right. First, I watched the entire Overlord replay, super replay group. I only got 2, both from friends of the show, Emmanuel. But what about the Misadventures of Tronbon, Mike? Someday, I do want to do it someday because
I haven't downloaded my PS3.
So
I have me too, and I have my disc too.
And then the other one from Dominic Cichocki. How are you feeling, Mike? Are you okay? What are you playing after this? The joke with this, or not completely joke, but the meaning of this is, when we recorded Star Fox Adventure the previous week that you're hearing this, I was so fucking burned out from that game because that game beat me down for some reason. It really.
You
did.
still say you liked it, but you're the way you say it says otherwise.
It's not a game you rush through. You kind of have to take your time.
Yeah, and I didn't have time.
Yeah.
And I also had a lot going on, but no, everything's fine now. I played Mega Man 6, which you won't hear until April. I played through this, went a lot more smoother than I expected, and I'm starting the new Tomb Raider, or the reboot Tomb Raider 2013, and that game's going just completely smoothly. Like, I'm doing better now. It was just a bad couple of weeks.
And you Metal Gear Solid 2 not long before this, too. So that itself was like a pretty long game.
It was longer than I expected it to be, yeah. And then from the Mega Man fans group, I got a few. From Jeff Gonzalez, finishing this game, you'll find out why we desperately need a third installment that we're never going to get. From Jeremiah Quenzer, good luck getting the Class S Digger license. I was hoping that Sony would have snapped up Capcom in this great buying race right now, somebody to actually use their IPs. I don't want Sony to buy Capcom.
I think Capcom is doing just fine, and I don't
want them to be bought.
I get what people are saying, but you have to understand that the gaming landscape now is different than what it was with all those franchises. But then I also wouldn't mind them, like, say, lends Final Fight to someone do what Streets Rage for.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But I don't really like this whole buying because I don't like games being locked in a particular system. I don't want to go back to the days of lots and lots of exclusives. I just don't, because I like PC now. So you don't want to take away my PC gaming because I'm really into Steam. And from Angel R. Miranda, amazing sequel, great weapons, fun segments and sequences. The first story was well contained and it worked well. But this one expands a lot and it works well in its favor, adding a lot more world building. Sadly, we never got a third part, but it would be so great to have a third part where Volnut finds ruins of the ZX era. Okay.
That would be cool.
From Carlos Villarreal, I play the series of Mega Man the most. And last one from this group, Brandon LaFerny. Truly amazing game, but kind of ends on a cliffhanger.
Kind of, yes.
And let's see, I got one comment from Mega Man Universe from Nicholas Avery. Favorite game of all time. You missed out. Never too late, though, because I just said I was playing it for the first time. And then I have 2 more to read from the official Laser Time community, and that's all I got. First one from John Barnes. Antista, avert your eyes. Anyone in that group will get the joke. Antista was a guy who does a podcast called Laser Time, and he also worked at Capcom during this time.
Mm-hmm.
And you should get a lot of calls about Mega Man, so that's that joke for those that aren't part of that group or listen to that podcast. And from Luke Batty, I only ever played the demo that was included with the Misadventures of Tronbon, which thank God I still have. I had the first and would have gotten this one too if I could have ever found it at a good price. Despite never owning it as a kid, I preferred it for the superficial reason that Mega Man had a helmet on the cover, which looked cooler than his helmetless image on the front of the first.
I know, so secular. Like, he doesn't have a helmet. He has a helmet. What's the difference?
I think it looks better without it.
He looks like a boy. He looks like a person. Like, I like the helmetless Mega Man.
I got nothing. Either one didn't bother me, so but I can get it. I regret not buying this game when I had the chance. So I can understand that part. All right, and then we should go to shelf, stack, or box. And Dominic, why don't you go first?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm like kind of between shelf and stack because I think Legends 1 definitely belongs on the shelf. But if I had my physical copy, it might be on the shelf. But I probably think this in the stack for now.
Okay. I'll go next. I'm going to put this on the shelf. I had a great time playing this game. I didn't get a chance to do all the secret, partly because time and just but I still had a lot of fun. Like, this is a very good game, and I'm really glad I got to play it for the show. And I finally got it off my backlog because I bought this game years ago on the PS3. I bought both Legends 1 and 2, and I just couldn't do it. I just didn't even start them, and I'm happy to finally have played it. So, on the shelf. What about you, Blair?
The highest point of the shelf with the rest of the series where they belong, with lots of shiny things around them, because Mega Man Legends is the best. I don't like this as much as at the time, I liked it better because I thought it was like a grander sequel that just kind of fixed things about the first one, and it kind of does mechanically, but I like the first one more because I think it has more heart. But this is still great, and I just really hate how shafted the series gets. Like, even when it got put on PS3, it was when the PS4 was in full swing, so even that initiative of people buying it then didn't really work out.
Oh, it's that late?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They were among the last
oh.
PS1 classics to come out.
Yeah, because I think there was something to do with like the
was licensing
with the voice acting or something.
There was licensing for certain brands, I think, and then also the voice acting.
And then the PS1, the digital download of Legends doesn't play on PSP, but it does play on Vita.
Well, the thing with that is that in Japan, PSP had ports of 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That also never got released because at the time Sony had a very big thing about not just releasing the same game on PSP.
And one of their first games is a remake of Ape Escape.
And one of the last games to come out on PSP was the Breath of Fire 3 remake report that I guess they had worked on, but again, American Sony was like, you can't put that here. It has to be changed.
It was a time when I don't think people realize how good a port can be. It's good. Things need to be re-released on other systems so people can experience it who never did. Who cares that? I mean, it's a good thing to do because just games rot, games get thrown away, things happen, people move and have bad relationships and lose all their games. I mean, it happens. It should be re-released stuff. People will buy it. Just don't re-release it at $60.
Even to think about, like, if someone wanted, like, if you went online or watched a YouTube video of someone talking about Mega Man Legends before this is on PS3, the emulation is always a route, of course. But if you're bad with that stuff, like I am, like Misadventures of Tron Bomb was a $300 or $400 game. This was also really expensive, so there was no way in. And then when it came out on PS3 wasn't backwards compatible with PS4 because the architecture is so weird, and Mark Cerny doesn't care. Sony doesn't care. And people had traded in their PS3s or had them in the boxes, so people weren't going back. And it was such a shame because, like, Matt McMuscles brought up in his video, like, the Capcom litmus test of, oh, you want a new, like, Resident Evil? Like, buy the remake. Like, if you want the new Onimusha, buy this one. And then I guess the litmus test for this would have been like, well, put these out, but it was too late at that point.
Right.
It's about 100 in Mega Man Legends 2. It goes anywhere about 150 online right now. But the Misadventures of Tron Bonne, it's like 300 plus.
So back in the day, I bought those thinking I would play them, and then I didn't because I needed the money, yada yada. And now I'm at the point where it's like, I wish I had kept them. But I have these digital versions, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I bought Misadventures of Tron Bonne 2 during that time, but that's another game I definitely will be probably putting in the show at some point because I need to play it.
I got it for my birthday in the year 2000.
Nice.
All right, I think we should wrap up this episode, and we'll start with Dominic. Where can people find you at?
Yeah, you can find me on the Distant Waves podcast on YouTube. That's just Distant Waves. You can find us on our website, distantwaves.space. I'm on Twitter at DACICHOCKI personally. I'm also in the Overblood Facebook group.
All right. And Blair, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Blarcade. You can also visit my website, comicbookvideogames.com, which is pretty self-explanatory in what it's about. There you can find links to my books and all my work, and you can also visit Comic Book Video Games on Facebook as well.
All right. And if you enjoyed this episode, you can go find all our other content on Podbean if you don't find it on Spotify or iTunes. And if you need more Mega Man, which there's a good chance if you want to hear other comments on Mega Man, we have a bunch of episodes, which I need to pull up now because I did not do that. We did Mega Man Let the Games Begin, Comic 18, Mega Man X, Episode 85, Mega Man 1 and 2, Episode 25, and there is more. It's just that I sold Mega Man different ways. Mega Man X3, Episode 136, Mega Man 5, Mini 12, Mega Man 4, Mini 11, Mega Man Legends, which you definitely should go listen to, Episode 117, Mega Man 3, Mini 10, which I'm pretty sure I pitched all about Mega Man 3. Go listen to that. Mega Man Powered Up, really good game, Mini 6, Mega Man X2 episode 99. So there's all your Mega Man that we've done so far in this show.
Nice.
So definitely go listen to all that. And want to give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, who did all the MCU with me when we did that roundup of madness. You can find him at A Gamer Looks at 40. Check out his podcast. Also, I'm going to shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at Hell Has Fury. Go follow her on TikTok. And we do have a Patreon for Little Doll. You can vote in our Patreon poll. The current Patreon poll right now is what Spider Marvel movie we should watch. Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Venom, or Black Widow. Yes, I know Black Widow's not. I need a fourth option. So definitely go check those out. And I think that, on Fallis on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. We are on YouTube. I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time.
See ya.
Oh, wait, I forgot to say what we're talking about next week. Ah, damn, I did it again. Next week, if you're still here, will be Tomb Raider 2013, the reboot.
Good luck.
So I'm finally playing that game again.
It's a good game.
It is a good game. Like, I played about an hour or 2 hours of it last night. I'm like, this is really good still.
Never beat a Tomb Raider.
I've only beaten Tomb Raider 2, and then I played the reboot years ago, and I haven't touched it since probably 2014 or so. So I was really excited to go back to it because I always wanted to play the rest of that series. Epic had them. I'm going to say this on the other episode, but who knows who's still here. Epic had them for free for a week, and that's what finally got me. It's like, okay, we're doing all three in the show finally.
I highly recommend the middle trilogy by Crystal Dynamics, Legend, Underworld, Anniversary. Those are my favorite Tomb Raider games.
Legend is really good. Anniversary, I really liked. I never played the other one.
I'm guessing you might like it.
Some point. We only done one other Tomb Raider game in the show, Tomb Raider 2, a long ass time ago. So it was about time to do some more. Yeah, so now that is everything I need to say. God, I can't believe I forgot to do that again. That's what I get for not using the outline. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.